There's a tiny skull in a South African museum with 2 puncture marks where the eyes used to be. The spacing is perfect, the depth calculated. These aren't cracks from age or accident. They're talon marks, the signature of a killer that struck from above at over 200 miles per hour. This child died almost 3 million years ago, carried into the sky by something we've spent centuries trying to forget. We weren't always apex predators. Once we were prey. And the evidence is written in bone. This is the story of when eagles hunted humans. Welcome to the channel, where we uncover the untold stories of human evolution. Before we dive in, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next. Now, let's go back 4.7 million years. There's a skull in a museum in South Africa. Fragile, belonging to a child who died almost 3 million years ago. At first glance, it looks ancient but unremarkable. Just another fossil in humanity's long story. But look closer. There, in the orbital sockets where eyes once saw the world, you'll notice something disturbing. 2 puncture marks. Perfectly spaced. Penetrating through bone. These aren't random cracks from time and pressure. They're talon marks. The signature of a killer that struck from above. This is the Tong child. And this child's death tells us something we've spent centuries trying to forget. We were not always the apex predator. Once, not so long ago in the grand timeline of Earth, we were prey. To understand how we became the hunters, the tool makers, the conquerors of every continent, we must first go back. Back to a time when our ancestors moved through the world with eyes constantly scanning the sky. Back to when survival meant never forgetting that death could descend on silent wings at any moment. Welcome to 4.7 million years ago. The world you're stepping into doesn't exist anymore. Not in the way you'd recognize it. Africa, the continent we call the cradle of humankind, is transforming. The climate is shifting. For millions of years, thick forests stretched across the land like a green ocean. But now, those forests are retreating. The earth is cooling. Rainfall patterns are changing. And where there were once endless trees, something new is emerging. The savanna. Picture it. Vast grasslands dotted with acacia trees. Open spaces where the sun beats down without mercy. A landscape that offers both opportunity and danger in equal measure. This is the East African Rift Valley, a geological wound in the Earth's crust that's tearing the continent apart, millimeter by millimeter, year by year. And it's here, in this transitional world between forest and grassland, that our story begins. The creatures living here aren't quite apes anymore. But they're not human either. They exist in between, caught in the slow current of evolution that will eventually lead to us. Scientists call them Australopithecus anamensis, one of our earliest ancestors. The name means southern ape of the lake, and it fits. They live near ancient water sources in a world where finding fresh water means the difference between life and death. Stand next to one, and you'd be looking down. They're small, 3 to 4 feet tall at most, weighing perhaps 65 to 110 pounds. About the size of a modern 8-year-old child. Their bodies tell a story of transition. Long arms for climbing, still strong enough to pull themselves into trees when danger approaches. But their legs are different. Longer, straighter, built for something their ape cousins couldn't do efficiently, walking upright on 2 feet. Bipedalism. It's just beginning, this strange new way of moving through the world. They're not graceful at it yet. Not like we are. But it's there, this fundamental shift that will define our entire lineage. Their faces would seem both familiar and alien to you. A jutting jaw. Large, flat teeth built for grinding tough vegetation. A sloping forehead above eyes that hold something you might recognize. Awareness. Intelligence beginning to spark in a brain roughly the size of a chimpanzee's, about 400 to 500 cubic centimeters. For reference, your brain is nearly 3 times that size. These are our ancestors. And they live in family groups, small clusters of 15 to 25 individuals moving together through a landscape that wants them dead. Because here's what you need to understand about this world. Everything is a threat. On the ground, saber-toothed cats with 7-inch canines patrol the grasslands. Hyenas, larger and more powerful than their modern descendants, travel in coordinated packs. Leopards lurk in the trees, perfect ambush predators that can drag prey twice their weight into the branches. Near water sources, crocodiles wait with prehistoric patience, 20 feet of armored death disguised as floating logs. But the ground predators, terrifying as they are, follow certain rules. You can see them coming. You can smell them. You can hear their approach through grass and underbrush. You can read the landscape and avoid their territories. The threat from above follows no such rules. Look up into that brilliant African sky where vultures wheel on thermals. That's where the most terrifying predator hunts. The crowned hawk eagle, Stephanoidus coronatus, a raptor so powerful, so efficient, that it has specialized in hunting primates for millions of years. Even today, in the forests of Africa, these eagles hunt monkeys. But 4.7 million years ago, when the world was stranger and more dangerous, there were larger raptors. Giant eagles whose fossils we're still discovering. Prehistoric birds of prey that made modern eagles look tame by comparison. Imagine a bird with a 6-foot wingspan, weighing up to 15 pounds, with talons that exert over 500 pounds of pressure per square inch. That's more force than a human bite, concentrated into 4 razor-sharp points. These eagles can take prey 3 to 4 times their own weight. They strike from diving speeds exceeding 200 miles per hour. Their eyesight is 8 times more acute than human vision. They can spot a rabbit from 2 miles away. Now imagine you're 3 feet tall, weighing 70 pounds, and you look like prey. Because that's what our ancestors were, the perfect size. Not too small to bother with. Not too large to be impossible. Just right. Vulnerable. This is the 3-dimensional threat that defined early human evolution. On the ground, predators forced our ancestors to stay alert. In the trees, they thought they were safe, but leopards proved them wrong. And in the sky, death could arrive without warning, dropping from the sun at speeds too fast to comprehend. Nowhere was truly safe. This isn't speculation. This isn't dramatic exaggeration for effect. This is written in bone. The Tong child's skull tells the story with brutal clarity. Those puncture marks in the eye sockets match eagle talons exactly. The spacing, the depth, the angle of penetration. Forensic analysis leaves no doubt. This child was killed by an eagle, probably while separated from the group. Carried back to a nest. Consumed. And the Tong child isn't alone. Paleontologists have found other hominin skulls showing similar damage. Multiple individuals across time, all bearing the signature wounds of aerial predation. Cave sites that were once eagle nests contain accumulations of bones, including those of our ancestors, mixed with the remains of monkeys and other prey. We have discovered, through careful analysis of ancient environments, that our family tree is built on a foundation of fear. Every ancestor you have, going back millions of years, survived long enough to reproduce. They survived the cats and the hyenas. They survived disease and drought. And critically, they survived the eagles. But many didn't. For every ancestor who made it, countless others were taken, plucked from the earth by talons that gave no second chances. This constant pressure, this unrelenting threat from above, shaped everything about who we would become. It selected for vigilance, for intelligence, for social cooperation. Because here's the truth that will echo through the next 2 chapters of our story: being prey didn't make us weak. Being prey made us human. As the sun sets over the East African Rift Valley 4.7 million years ago, a family group of Australopithecus anamensis begins their nightly retreat. They move toward a cluster of trees near an ancient riverbed, their sleeping place, the one location where they can rest, surrounded by family, with some protection from the nighttime predators. Tomorrow, they'll descend again. Back to the dangerous ground where food grows. Back under the open sky where eagles hunt. They don't know it yet, but this dance between predator and prey will last for millions of years. And it will change them. Generation by generation. Death by death. Survival by survival. The child whose skull we found in that South African cave never got to see the world we built. Never knew that their species would eventually walk on the moon, split the atom, map the human genome. But that child's death mattered. Every predation event mattered. Because the ones who survived, the ones who were just a little bit smarter, just a little bit more alert, just a little bit better at working together, they passed on their genes. And slowly, impossibly slowly, the prey began to change. But that transformation, that incredible journey from hunted to hunter, is a story for another chapter. For now, we leave our ancestors in their trees, huddled together against the African night, knowing that tomorrow the sky will hunt again. And they must be ready. Dawn breaks over the savannah, and with it comes the most dangerous decision our ancestors will make today. They must come down from the trees. Up here, wrapped in branches, surrounded by family, there's relative safety. The night predators have retreated. The day hunters haven't started their patrols yet. But hunger doesn't care about safety. Food is on the ground. Water is on the ground. Life is on the ground. So they descend. Watch how they move. It's not random. The largest males go first, scanning in every direction. Their eyes sweep the grass for movement, the shadows for shapes that don't belong. Then the females, keeping the young ones close. Always touching. Always connected. Because separation means death. The last one to leave the tree looks up. Always up. Checking the sky one more time before committing to the open ground. This is what it meant to be prey. Every single movement calculated. Every decision weighed against the possibility of not surviving to see another sunrise. Let's follow them through their morning. Stay close. Move when they move. Stop when they freeze. They're foraging now, spreading out in a loose circle. Never more than 20 feet from each other. Their diet is tough, unforgiving. Roots that must be dug from hard earth with bare hands and primitive sticks. Tubers that require effort to extract. Seeds. Tough vegetation that takes hours to chew. Occasionally, if they're lucky, insects. Termites. Grubs. Precious protein in a world where calories are survival. But notice something. They're not efficient feeders. Every few seconds, someone looks up, scans the horizon, checks the sky. This constant vigilance has a cost. Less time eating means less energy gained. More stress means higher calorie burn. It's exhausting, this perpetual state of alert. And yet, it keeps them alive. Because somewhere above them, riding the thermals that rise from the warming savanna, an eagle is hunting. Here's what we know from forensic analysis of those ancient bones, from studying modern eagle predation patterns, from piecing together the evidence scattered across millennia. Eagles don't hunt randomly. They select. They watch from heights we can barely imagine, circling on air currents, their extraordinary vision mapping the landscape below. They're looking for specific targets. Juveniles because they're smaller and easier to carry. Individuals who separate from the group even for a moment. The sick, the distracted, the unlucky. The attack, when it comes, is almost impossible to survive. The eagle begins its dive from perhaps 1,000 feet up. It folds its wings, becoming a feathered missile. Gravity and muscle combine to create speeds exceeding 200 miles per hour. At the last possible moment, it throws its wings forward, converting that incredible velocity into striking force. The talons, for curved daggers of keratin, swing forward and lock. They hit with over 500 pounds of pressure per square inch. For comparison, that's stronger than a wolf's bite, concentrated into points sharper than any natural weapon our ancestors possessed. The Tong child skull shows us exactly what happened next. Those orbital punctures, the ones that match eagle talons with devastating precision, tell a story of instant trauma. The eagle's rear talon, The hallux, longer and more powerful than the others, punched through the eye socket. The others gripped the skull. Death was likely instantaneous. Then came the ascent. Eagles are strong enough to carry prey 3 to 4 times their body weight. A 70-pound child would have been well within the capabilities of a large raptor. Away from the screaming family group, up to a nest or feeding perch where the kill could be consumed without competition. This happened. Not once. Not rarely. Regularly enough that we find multiple hominin fossils showing the same pattern of predation. Cave systems that were once eagle nesting sites contain bone accumulations. Primes, hyraxes, small antelopes, and scattered among them, the remains of our ancestors. But here's where it gets interesting. Here's where survival enters the story. Because some groups learned. Some groups adapted. Some groups developed strategies that gave them just enough edge to avoid becoming statistics in an eagle's diet. The sentinel behavior. One individual, usually positioned with the best view of the sky, dedicating themselves entirely to watching. Not foraging. Not resting. Just watching. When that individual spotted a threat, they vocalized. A sharp, distinct alarm call that meant one thing: incoming danger from above. And the group reacted instantly. No hesitation. No debate. They scattered toward cover. Rocky overhangs. Dense thorn bushes. Anything that broke the eagle's flight path and made the attack geometry impossible. This wasn't instinct. This was learned behavior. Passed down through observation. Young ones watching adults. Survivors teaching the next generation through example. This is culture, primitive and essential. This is intelligence under pressure. The groups that developed better communications survived at higher rates. The individuals who remembered predation patterns, who could recognize the silhouette of an eagle against the sun, who understood that certain times of day were more dangerous, they lived longer. They had more offspring. Evolution doesn't care about intentions. It only cares about results. And the result was clear. The pressure of being prey was selecting for smarter hominins. There's something haunting about this realization. Every moment of terror, every loss, every eagle attack that succeeded was teaching the survivors. The groups that stayed together were safer. The individuals who communicated warnings protected their families. The ones who could remember and anticipate danger had an advantage. Being hunted was making them more human. Consider the energy cost of that large brain developing in our lineage. Brains are expensive. Your brain, right now, uses 20% of your body's energy despite being only 2% of your body weight. For a species living on the edge of starvation, investing in a larger brain seems wasteful. Unless that brain is the difference between being eaten and surviving another day. The intelligence that would eventually allow humans to build civilizations, to create art, to explore space, it was forged here. In the desperate mathematics of predator and prey. In the calculated risk of leaving the trees. In the split-second decisions that meant life or death. As the sun reaches its peak, the family group moves toward water. They must drink. But water sources are killing grounds. Every predator knows this. Every prey species takes this risk. They approach slowly. Watching. Waiting. One drinks while others guard. They take turns. This is cooperation. This is social complexity emerging from necessity. Above them, the eagle has moved on to hunt elsewhere. Today, this group survived. Tomorrow, they'll face the same gauntlet again. And the day after that. And the day after that. For millions of years, this will be the pattern. The sky hunting. The ground fleeing. The survivors learning. Until one day, everything will change. But we're not there yet. Right now, in this moment 4.7 million years ago, our ancestors are still prey. Still vulnerable. Still looking up with fear. The eagle circles higher, a dark speck against an indifferent sky, and the dance continues. Time doesn't move the same way in evolutionary terms as it does in human experience. 1,000,000 years seems impossible to grasp. It's 40,000 generations. It's longer than our species, Homo sapiens, has existed. It's enough time for mountains to rise and erode, for coastlines to reshape, for entire species to emerge and vanish. And yet, in Earth's timeline, 1,000,000 years is barely a chapter. So let's accelerate. Let's move forward through time and watch what happens when prey refuses to stay prey. 3 million years ago, Australopithecus africanus walks the same landscapes their ancestors knew. They're slightly larger now, slightly heavier. Their brains have grown, creeping past 450 cubic centimeters. Not much of an increase, but enough. Enough to hold more memories. Enough to make more connections. Enough to pass down more complex information. They still look up. They still fear the sky. But they're learning faster now. 2.5 million years ago, something revolutionary happens. Someone, somewhere in East Africa, picks up a rock and strikes it against another rock. Not randomly, deliberately, creating a sharp edge where there wasn't one before. The first tool. It doesn't seem like much. A crude stone flake. But this changes everything. Now they can cut through tough hide on scavenged carcasses. They can access bone marrow, that calorie-rich resource locked inside bones that teeth alone cannot reach. They can process food more efficiently. They can defend themselves more effectively. The Oldowan technology, named after Oldoway Gorge where these tools were first discovered. Simple, primitive, world-changing. 2 million years ago, Homo erectus emerges. Upright man. And upright they are. Taller, straighter spines. Longer legs built for distance. Their brains have exploded to nearly 900 cubic centimeters. They've almost doubled the cranial capacity of their ancestors. And they're doing something no hominin has done before. They're hunting. Not just scavenging anymore. Actually pursuing prey. Working together with strategy and coordination. Using tools not just to process food, but to acquire it. The hunted are becoming hunters. 1.5 million years ago. Fire. Controlled fire. Not just opportunistically using natural wildfires, but creating it, maintaining it, understanding it. Fire keeps predators at bay. Every carnivore on Earth fears flames. The saber-toothed cats that once terrorized our ancestors won't approach a burning perimeter. The hyenas keep their distance. And the eagles, circling above, see smoke and know that below are creatures that have mastered something elemental. Fire cooks food, making nutrients more accessible. Fire provides warmth, allowing expansion into colder climates. Fire creates community, a gathering place where stories can be shared, knowledge transferred, social bonds strengthened. But most importantly for our story, fire announces a fundamental shift. We are no longer hiding. We are no longer just surviving. We are transforming our environment to suit our needs. The tables have turned so completely that it's difficult to remember how it used to be. Modern humans, Homo sapiens, emerged roughly 300,000 years ago. Our brains have reached 1,400 cubic centimeters. We have language. Complex, nuanced, symbolic language that allows us to share not just warnings, but plans. Source. Ideas. We can coordinate hunts across miles of terrain. We can pass down knowledge across generations with precision that no other species can match. We have spears with stone points, carefully crafted and balanced for throwing. We have atlatls, spear throwers that multiply our range and force. Eventually, we'll have bows and arrows. Projectile weapons that can kill from distances that make us untouchable. The eagle that once hunted our ancestors? We hunt them now. We take their eggs. We claim their nesting sites. We tell stories about them, creating myths and legends, transforming them from predators into symbols. We spread across the entire planet. Every continent except Antarctica. Every climate zone. Every ecosystem. We become the most dominant species Earth has ever known. 7 billion strong and growing. We've walked on the moon. We've split the atom. We've decoded our own genome. The prey conquered the world. But here's what makes this story so profound. Here's why it matters that we remember those millions of years of vulnerability. In museums around the world, paleontologists still study those ancient bones. The Taung child skull sits in Johannesburg, a testament to a death that happened 2.8 million years ago. Researchers examine the puncture marks under microscopes, matching them against eagle talon databases, confirming what we already know: this child was prey. Other fossils tell similar stories. Skulls with orbital damage, long bones with raptor beak marks, cave accumulations that reveal the brutal mathematics of the food chain. Modern field studies add context. In the Thai forest of Ivory Coast, researchers watch crowned hawk eagles hunt monkeys. In the Philippines, they document Philippine eagles taking primates from the canopy. The patterns are consistent, the methods unchanged across millions of years. Eagles specialize in hunting our relatives, and they're terrifyingly good at it. We study these patterns not out of morbid curiosity, but because they explain us. Why do humans have such acute hearing? Because we needed to detect wing beats. Why do we have exceptional peripheral vision? Because threats came from all angles. Why are we so socially bonded, so dependent on group cohesion? Because isolation meant death. That anxiety you feel when you're being watched? That's the prey brain. Still active, still vigilant, still remembering. That instinct to look up when you hear a sudden bird call? That's 4 million years of evolution telling you to check the sky. Our fear of heights, our discomfort in open spaces without cover, our tendency to seek elevated positions where we can see approaching threats, these aren't bugs in our psychology. They're features. Survival mechanisms inherited from ancestors who lived under constant predation pressure. There are mysteries still unsolved. Questions paleontologists continue to investigate. How common was aerial predation really? Were there other flying predators, now extinct, that hunted hominids? Did this pressure accelerate bipedalism more than we currently understand? What psychological traits, what fundamental aspects of human nature were shaped by millions of years of watching the sky? The evidence is incomplete. Fossils are rare. Soft tissue doesn't preserve. Behavior must be inferred from bones and archaeology and comparative studies. But every new discovery adds another piece to the puzzle. We're learning, slowly, to read the story written in ancient stone and preserved in our own DNA. We're understanding that the journey from prey to predator wasn't inevitable. It was earned. Through suffering and adaptation. Through loss and learning. Through millions of years of refusing to be easy victims. Return one final time to that museum in South Africa. Stand before the Taung child skull. Look at those puncture marks and understand what they represent. This child never knew that their species would inherit the earth. Never imagined that descendants of their family group would master fire, build cities, create art, explore the cosmos. Never dreamed that the eagles hunting them would one day be protected by laws written by former prey. But that child's death mattered. Every predation event mattered. Because the survivors remembered. They learned. They adapted. They passed on their hard-won knowledge. And generation by generation, death by death, survival by survival, they changed. We are not designed to be prey. But we were prey long enough that it became part of us. Woven into our instincts. Embedded in our psychology. Written in our bones. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson of all. We didn't become apex predators by being the strongest or the fastest. We became apex predators by being the smartest. By working together. By remembering our vulnerabilities and refusing to accept them as destiny. The eagles still soar above us. Magnificent. Powerful. Deadly. But now, when we look up, it's not with fear. It's with respect. And recognition. And perhaps just a little bit of gratitude. Because being hunted made us human. If you found this journey through deep time fascinating, subscribe for more untold stories from human evolution. From the creatures that hunted us to the moments that defined us, there are millions of years of incredible history waiting to be explored. Hit that subscribe button and join us as we continue walking through the ages that made us who we are today.